Hey, scribes. Happy Tuesday, right? It is Tuesday. Yes. Just want to make sure I'm not losing any days. Happy Tuesday. Why is my screen? I feel like I am super bright right now, and I am not sure why. Let's see if we can tone this down a little bit. Take out some of that brightness. Okay. So, coming to you live and direct. This is video 2 of 8 that I promised you. I promised to go live in the group for 8 weeks straight, and I think like that's a good goal for me. Let's see if we can do 8 weeks, and then I will work on increasing my participation from there, right? But as long as you guys send me questions and you send me comments and things to talk about, then I have content for you. And this today's Facebook Live definitely comes from someone who did my email writing course. Now, just because a couple people have been getting confused, I'm just going to take a minute to explain something. Okay, so the 5-day free email course, which is on my website, www.tiasmartyoung.com. I'm going to put it in the comment section really quickly. There is a 5-day email course on there, and that is absolutely free. And it is really to help you get focused if you are interested in, hey, Kristen, if you're interested in writing a nonfiction book. So we go through an assignment every day, and then really what it is like one-on-one coaching. So you have assignments, you have questions, and they're really simple, like 15 to maybe 20 minutes for you to complete. And when you send me your assignment, then I give you some feedback on how you did. And it's really a chance for us to develop a one-on-one relationship based on what you're writing about. So that is the 5-day writing course. That is continuous. It's on my website until I change the website, and then maybe you'll find it somewhere else on my website. But right now it is on the homepage. So not to be confused with the 5-day writing course, which a bunch of you did over the course of starting on Memorial Day. And then it lasted for 5 days. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood the differences. And let me turn my phone off because you know I'm notorious for the phone ringing. I'm sure I forgot to turn the house phone off, so you may hear that. So on the last day of the 5-day writing course, what I do is I ask everyone if they have any questions about writing. So absolutely any question you want to ask me, I am willing to answer. So the question that I got was, does having a full-time writing gig kill your creativity? And I had never gotten this question before, and I never even thought about it before. So my short answer to that is no. It actually made me a better writer, and it made me a more creative writer. Now, before I explain, I want to just get you to understand something, that any job can kill your creativity. I've worked for the state. I've worked for media. I've worked in nonprofit. I've been laid off. Any of those things, being laid off, can kill your creativity. Working for in any sector, if you drove a bus, if you're an accountant, if you are a chemist, I think if you allow it to, any job can kill your creativity. The thing is to find those pockets of what you can learn from your job or your current situation to help infuse your writing. So I say that to say that, one, I don't have the luxury of letting anything kill my creativity. Like I said, I've been laid off 3 times. And so you would think that I would be under the bed somewhere crying when I lost my paycheck. But that was actually the opposite. It's like, oh, now I really got to figure out how to make this bank account pop, because now it's all on me. I don't have the comfort of an employer every 2 weeks making sure that I have some funds in my account. And so that for me encourages my creativity. It's like, where is this money coming from? How am I going to pay for Netflix? How am I going to pay for cable? How am I going to pay for maybe these fabulous braids that I have right here, for example, right? So the thing is, yes, Kristen, it is very true. You have to figure out how to make money off of your skills. And the thing is that people have said to me before, oh, but cable is a luxury, cable and Netflix is a luxury. And that may be true for some people. However, if it is connected, if this quote unquote luxury or expense is connected to your career, then it's not really a luxury. It's something that you need to further your career. So I need Netflix, believe it or not, because as a person who covers entertainment all of the time, if my editor says, oh, I need you to interview these 3 guys from Dear White People, which did happen to me, okay, I need to be able to say, yes, I watched Dear White People. I know exactly who you're talking about. I can now go and do my job effectively. That's just an example of why I need cable. So don't try to debate me on, on Netflix. So don't try to debate me on my Netflix subscription. Okay. It's not going to happen. So the thing that I want you to know is that no matter what kind of job you have, if you're in publicity, if you're in marketing, there are people, skills, and guys, I'm looking at my notes because I always have to write notes for you guys. There are people, skills, and opportunities that you can take into your writing. So for example, if you're writing fiction, there's some fake ass know-it-all coworker that works in the marketing department or works in, works in accounting, and this person could be inspiration for a character in your book. Not to say that you're going to take exactly who this person is and now drop them into your book, but no, you may take little things about the person's personality, how they respond to emails, how they may be condescending in the morning, how maybe they don't speak to anyone before 10 o'clock, how they don't speak to anyone until after they've had 2 cups of coffee. Whatever it is, those then can now become character traits for someone in your book. Another example is, for instance, I just met this young woman, and I'm going to try to get her and do an interview with her on Facebook Live so you guys can see how you can continue to publish your work, have an income, and make impact. But she is a young woman I met at a Brown Girls Brunch, and she works in corporate America. And she wrote this book called, I think it's called Overtime is So Over. And so what her passion was, figuring out how to work smarter versus harder. And that is, if you do the same thing, that's potentially an essay for maybe Fast Company or Inc. magazine, or even tips for a book that you want to create on teaching people how to work really smart in corporate America, but not give all your hours away, right? Again, take what you have in terms of people, skills, and opportunities that you have in your workplace and use it to fuel your writing. Because she wrote this book probably on her lunch hour or after work or even on the weekends. Let's see. If you are feeling stumped in your current job and you don't feel like you have that creativity, what you need to do is get yourself a group. Like, I love meetups. Do you ever go on meetup.com, you guys, and see different kinds of groups that you can join and people that you can connect with who have the same interests as you? So there's meetups for everything, including writing a book, including writing essays, including creative writing. So you need to be able to connect with meetups, groups, and even classes. And you know that I have free stuff on my website for you guys. I have a free creative call on there. If you guys ever want to just go through some of your ideas, it's a 15-minute creative call. It's free. It's also available on my website. I'm going to put the website in here again. And you just click on freebies, and there's a section on there that says creative clarity call, and you can sign up for that. So now let me get into explaining how having a full-time writing gig or having a writing gig or editing gig helped me to be a better creative writer. And the first example that I think of immediately is when I was an editorial assistant at Essence. So this was my first media gig right after college. I think I probably started there in August. And I worked for 3 editors with different personalities, different temperaments, and different writing and editing styles. So it was a chance for me really to learn and grow from these women who have been in the industry for a long time and just have different ways of approaching how they edit a piece of work. So first of all, what I used to do, like a lot of people like to look at the end product. The end product is shiny and it's polished and it's beautiful. And that goes for anything. That goes for a movie that you see on TV. That goes for a book that you read. That goes for an article that's online. That goes for an article in a magazine. Everything at that point should be polished and ready for publication. But what I used to do was I used to read their assignment letters. I used to read the first drafts that the writers sent in and try to see if the writers stayed true to the assignment. And when the editor would send it back for revision, I would pay attention to the edits and pay attention to the notes, because it was really important to see where the editor's head was in terms of what was missing from that particular story. So if this was an investigative piece about a rape out of college, and the writer didn't hit certain points, or they didn't get to certain sources, then of course the editor is going to send them back. You need to talk to another person. You forgot about this. I need to hear from what other sources are saying. So it's really important not to just look at the final product, but really to understand the process moving forward. And so that's one reason that having a full-time media gig or a full-time writing gig made me a better and more creative writer, because if I worked in an accountant's office, I wouldn't necessarily have been able to learn this particular skill in terms of reading the assignment letters and paying attention to the different revisions that came across their desks. So, now, when I worked at a nonprofit, because I worked at Girls Inc. for almost 5 years, and I absolutely loved it. And I did not expect to love it, because I just felt like, you know what, I belong in the media world. I belong working for maybe a website. I belong working for a magazine, or maybe a TV company. But you know, sometimes on the road to what you think you're supposed to be doing, God has other plans for you, and you end up doing something that you really should be doing. And so I really should have been at Girls Inc. when I was there. And I wrote press releases, and I wrote marketing materials, and I learned how to write speeches. And I also launched a membership website. So some crucial pieces that eventually became building blocks for things that I did later in my career. I didn't know how to write a speech. And my director at the time, the director of the department, he didn't necessarily teach me how to write speeches. What he did was he said, here's the database of speeches that we have done in the past. I want you to look at the most recent ones, study the format, figure it out, give it a go. And that's really how I learned, yes, the speech writing, right? Speech writing is big, Kristen, and there's lots of money in that. And I wonder who's handling Trump stuff, because that person is, you know, we got questions. But speech writing was and is still a huge part of what I do. So that was a critical moment for me to learn how to write speeches. And I was writing speeches for the president of Girls Incorporated, Joyce Roche. And that was such a huge moment for me, because here I am writing speeches, and I had never written speeches before. And it's not like I'm just writing a speech for, like, you know, maybe a head of a department. I'm writing speeches for the CEO and president of Girls Incorporated. And what happens now, fast forward so many years later, I have to write speeches for myself. I have to write keynote speeches. I have to write graduation speeches. So again, all of this building blocks for what I've done and helped me to become a more creative and better writer. Let's see what else. Oh, and you know what I also did in the past, and I still continue to do, if I can't find a proper example on Google, or the exact example that I need on Google, I am big on asking people for samples or a template. Hey, Jean, because there's nothing like being able to see something that someone has done and it was effective and it worked. Like, for instance, when I first started working on a book proposal, a nonfiction book proposal, I asked a friend if I could see her nonfiction book proposal. Now, mind you, she was a New York Times, or is rather a New York Times bestselling author. And I asked her, could I see a snippet of her proposal that she wrote? I'm not going to tell you what book, but she shared a snippet of her proposal with me so that I could see, okay, yes, I knew from books the proper format, but it really helped to solidify in my mind, okay, this is something that was actually published and it worked, and here's why it worked. And so that gave me the I guess the support that I needed, because yes, I can Google, and I did Google, and yes, I have books, but this was another resource. So being able to have resources that I mentioned writing communities, I mentioned meetups, I mentioned classes, but I should also mention other people that you can go to and share samples with. And I'm always happy to share any samples that I have. If people said to me, oh, you know, I guess I can Google a press release, and I've seen different kinds of press releases, but if you could share something with me, then I'm absolutely fine and willing and able to share things with people like that. The last example I'm going to use about why having a full-time writing gig made me a better writer was when I was at Latina. So one of the things that I loved about that particular job was that if you wanted to launch any kind of thing, you could. If you wanted to have a podcast, you could. If you wanted to have a column in the magazine, you could. I actually had a column in the magazine. Who knew I was going to have a column in the magazine? That was about relationships, no less. So what I did was I ended up taking that relationships column and then turning it into Facebook Live content, which was called Tea with Tea. Now, I don't know how anyone else did their Facebook Lives, because every editor was encouraged to do their own thing. So we had a business Facebook Live, which was, I think it was called We Got It Wednesdays. We had a mommy Facebook Live, and then we had me, and then we had a couple other ones. So I was talking about relationships, love, sex, dating. I don't know how anyone else approached their Facebook Lives, but I approached mine like, okay, this is a segment that I'm really producing. I thought of it as a TV show, and I looked up a script online, and I said, okay, I'm going to make sure I have a script for myself. I'm going to have notes. I used to have guests. I used to call people up and say, hey, do you want to be on my Facebook Live? And it's like, nobody ever said no. They said yes. So what I did there was take that opportunity that was available to me, because they said, hey, if you want to create something here, go ahead and create it. I took that opportunity that was available. That opportunity, again, supported what I already knew about writing and supported what I already was doing, but it also gave me a new skill. Because now if someone says, do you know how to produce scripts for a video, I can say absolutely, yes. And I did. And then I went and took that skill and produced some videos for titles. So my long answer I gave you just really explains how having a full-time writing gig or having a full-time media gig made me a better and more creative writer. The thing is that I don't want you guys to get discouraged and think that you have to be in this industry, have to have a gig in this industry to write and create. You absolutely do not. The blessing of today and the blessing of technology and all that we are exposed to is that you can create, and you are a creator. You just have to be able to know that it's not going to be beautiful the first time out. It's going to be messy. It's going to be imperfect, but each iteration of it is supposed to and will get better. So that's me for today. This is 2 of 8 videos. Let me put my website into the box like I promised everyone, so that people who are watching the replay, if they want to check out the free email course, the 5-day email course. I'm just going to write it here. There it is. They can do that. So you guys, if you don't have any questions, I will see you next week and talk to you soon. Take care.